Hey guys, the new episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is out entitled The Devil Complex. If you remember in the last two episodes, the main problem that the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents have was this tear that was caused by the bomb blowing up three monoliths. It was a tear to a sort of fear dimension, and Fitz was even joking or wishing why couldn't it be some sort of dream dimension or wish dimension instead. Just to recap, this fear dimension is slowly seeping into the world. It is now occupying the lower levels of the lighthouse, S.H.I.E.L.D's new base. And what it does basically is take everyone's greatest fears and turns them into a solid manifestation that can actually kill you or that can actually harm you. So Fitz can't properly compress the gravitonium into his new device because, as you know, last episode, they got a small ball of gravitonium from a floating ship in order to be able to even permanently close the tear once and for all. So there's a new anomaly this time. The Doctor. Basically, this is the Leopold Fitz from the framework, kind of leader of Hydra. Now, they don't know if this version of Leopold is actually a fear of his or a fear of Gemma's. What he does is he reprograms Hale's robot soldier, the one that Mac found and brought back in order to make arms for Yo-Yo. And it sort of shot Mac, and that's how they started to know that Fitz already encountered the Doctor. So the Doctor even kidnapped Daisy and tied her up because he wanted to remove her limiter rather. So Fitz came in and saw all this, and he was kind of confused because in the framework, the Doctor was intent on experimenting on and eventually killing Inhumans, not empowering them. The Doctor said that he needed to do what Fitz would never do, which is remove the limiter, because it is through Daisy's powers that she will be able to compress the gravitonium that Fitz cannot, and thus actually save the world by closing the tear. Later on, Daisy goes asking, "Who are you talking to?" when Fitz was talking to the Doctor. And then it all came to me that probably Fitz was just having some sort of bipolar situation. And true enough, that was the case. Gemma came in and she saw Fitz was the one holding the scalpel. He was talking to himself the whole time. There were no two people there. There was no Fitz and an anomaly. It was just Fitz talking to himself, an internal struggle. Now, Gemma said that this was probably due to his injury acting up again. Because if you remember, at the end of season 1, Fitz almost drowned trying to save Gemma. And it was the people of Nick Fury who saved Fitz, but he was never the same. He had some sort of brain damage. And in season 2, Fitz was even seeing Gemma. We all thought at first that he was talking to the real Gemma and they were hanging out together, but it turns out Gemma was being an undercover agent for Hydra. And Fitz was alone in his S.H.I.E.L.D. laboratory talking to a Gemma that was actually just a figment of his imagination. And this is what the Doctor is this time. So Fitz was already fully aware of the situation, but he still chose to remove the limiter anyway. He said that the Doctor was right. It was what had to be done. And Daisy was able to compress the gravitonium with her powers, but Fitz surrendered and he was isolated from the others. As he said himself, Mac was hurt because of him. Daisy was traumatized. Though the robot that he reprogrammed wasn't meant to hurt Mac. It was just meant to stop anybody from disturbing him until he was able to remove Daisy's limiter, because he knew that they would not agree with what he thought had to be done. So at the end of it all, you could imagine that Gemma was kinda heartbroken. Gemma was kinda at loss at what to do, so Deke had to comfort her. Deke told her that it was all going to be okay. He knew it was going to be okay because he is actually their grandson. He told her about the whole coat thing about it's not about taking big steps, but just making sure you step towards the right direction. And Gemma finally believed him. So another part of this episode was one with General Hale. Now Coulson had his team track her phone and they kidnapped her. While in the interrogation room, she admitted to Coulson that there was a bigger threat, but would only tell him about it if he came with her. Of course, Coulson did not agree, saying that none of them could actually trust each other at that time. Now, Carl Creel if you noticed last episode, was recruited by General Hale. He was her driver, and when Viper told May that the driver's like a statue, that they couldn't move him at all, May immediately knew that it was Creel, and Creel revealed himself. He had bombs strapped to himself. Another surprise is Anton Ivanov, the Russian from last season who was aiding Ada. Now, he wasn't in his real body anymore because he was dying last season, so Ada sort of preserved his head somewhere and made him somewhat a sentient being able to control a lot of robots made in his own image, or LMDs. So these LMDs are actually what the robots of General Hale are. Anton Ivanov helped her make these LMDs, but without Ada, they weren't able to make them perfect, so they did not take the form of people like they used to last season. So General Hale had his head, Ivanov's head, somewhere, and we can all assume that this is why he is being controlled, why he is actually agreeing to do what she says. General Hale took Coulson with her in exchange for not blowing up the Zephyr. So again, it added to another problem for our agents. At the end of this, it's revealed that General Hale is actually working for someone else. Now, she was in a dark room talking to a dark figure who was saying that if she really wanted a seat at this confederacy, she should procure something good. So there is another council, sort of bad guys taking effect here who are controlling General Hale, and she told them that she secured what she believed was the final piece that she needed. And I could only think that this meant it was Coulson, but it could be misleading too, but it probably means it's Coulson. But the biggest surprise of all was that at the end of their conversation, the figure she was talking to said, "Hail Hydra." That's right, Hydra is probably back. Or are they? They could just be taking the name of Hydra and not be the real Hydra from before, or descendants of the agents of Hydra, I guess. And we also know that General Hale did not see eye to eye with Wolfgang von Strucker, which is why despite their being friends, she never really joined Hydra, or at least she says. So Hydra was thought to be disbanded, finally, when Ward and Gideon Malik were defeated because they kept coming back, but S.H.I.E.L.D. sort of had a permanent closure to the Hydra saga once and for all, or so we thought again. And they were finally also thought to have defeated Hydra when they defeated Hive, because it was revealed that Hive was actually the reason that Hydra existed. Even the logo of Hydra looks like Hive. They were sort of formed to be able to bring Hive back into the world. And now that Hive is gone, it's kind of weird to see Hydra operating with their ultimate purpose having been destroyed already. So what do you think of all this? Do you like the season so far? Do you like where this is going? Do you want Hydra to be back? For me, I think Hydra is a very important figure in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and it would be an exciting thing to see that it wasn't only just a case of new people taking their name, but rather that Hydra had survived all this time. If you like this video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more great videos.